Hello, hi, Jeffery Kin, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival, Sarasota, with Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece, where we get to speak with area artists about what they do, why they do, and where they come from, and all sorts of wonderful things. And I gotta tell you, I'm excited about our guest today, and I'm gonna let him pronounce his own name because now I'm all freaked out I'm gonna try it. Okay, Ariel Aparicio-Jerro.
Pretty good.
Now you try.
Okay, Ariel Aparicio-Jerro. Or I can say Aparicio-Jerro.
Ariel Aparicio-Jerro. So to just keep that, I need to hit that L a little bit better.
On the L.
We are talking to you about WSLR and Fogartyville because you are the director. Is that your official title?
That is my title, Director of Fogartyville.
Fogartyville, but WSLR is a part of that too, right?
Yeah, we're really one entity. You know, we are the community radio station WSLR, and our community event media and arts center is called Fogartyville.
So I'm
glad one building.
I love that on Kumquat Street, which I love that. I love your little space. I used to go on and do interviews with Arlene Sweeting way back in the day.
Oh wow, awesome!
Yeah. I love your little space over there. So it's good that you kind of explained it to me because I'm sure our listeners are also wondering exactly. So will you explain what WSLR is a community radio station?
Radio station, yes. It's Sarasota's only community radio station.
Okay.
We are low powered. We're 96.5 FM, but you can stream us worldwide at WSLR.org.
I love that. So .org also lets our listeners know that you are officially a 501c3, right? You are a not-for-profit organization, so you accept donations. You probably have drives to raise funds for...
We do all those things. Yep.
So what do you feel like your role is there? So you're the director, but what does that really mean?
Okay, so basically I am front of the house. Most evenings or during the days whenever we have workshops. But I'm also in charge of all scheduling, all booking at Fogartyville. So all the concerts that we do, which we did record-breaking last year, and we hope to do as many or more this year, all workshops, all film screenings and Q&As that we have. We have a drink and draw every month. We have a singer-songwriter series every month for local artists. We have an open mic every month. We have art exhibits. We have local art exhibits. So all that I'm in charge of. I book everything that comes through our doors.
And how long have you been there?
So just a little over a year now.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder our paths have not crossed yet.
Yeah, no. But I'm pretty new here, so this is actually now, this coming season will be the first season that I'm, completely in charge, completely of all booking. Because, like you mentioned, Arlene, and I'm assuming you might have known Dave also. So Dave was doing all the bookings prior to my arrival. And this past year, I did most of them, but a lot of things were coming his way, and he would just toss them to me.
Right.
Since he was still the main contact, but now I am the main contact.
So, I've done that before where I've stepped into a role, and that first year is really all about, kind of understanding where you are and what you are. So this first year, do you think that are we going to see any difference adding your flair to what's happening, what's going to be coming up this next year?
I think so, and I hope so. I mean, I'm very comfortable in this position now. It's really my decisions of who I'm booking. So it's I'm appealing to our audience, our built-in audience that we have, but I want to expand. I want other people to know about us, and I want different genres, that maybe we're not used to having. Like for example, we've always really, we're the best listening room in Sarasota. I mean, it is, but we've always really focused on a lot of acoustic, singer-songwriter, bluegrass, that kind of stuff, which we do plenty of, and we will continue. But I this year brought bands, that we don't normally have, like a rock band, that, we don't normally do, but they went over super great, still sounded awesome in the room. We have these amazing sound techs. So I'm going to do more of that.
Do you feel that that's filling a gap, maybe that's not being filled by somebody else? Because I always think that that's the most important thing for an organization, is to not be, kind of duplicating what somebody else is doing or trying to finesse whatever other people are doing. Do you feel like that, though, you're challenged because maybe people don't know who you are? I mean, that's part of a challenge of an organization, is like, what is WSLR and then what is Fogartyville and what's the difference between them? And so that's a great reason why we're talking today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we have a wonderful built-in audience, people who love our space, who love the events that we put on there, and most of our shows sell out.
Yeah.
But there is, we joke because we're kind of like this, the unknown local secret, which we don't want to be. We want everyone to know about us. We're this wonderful venue in the Rosemary district. We're a little tucked in, so you don't see us all the time, when you're driving by or walking by. But, we don't want to be that little, unknown secret. We want everyone to know about this venue and the station. We're this great community-oriented, driven organization, and we want everyone to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I love what you do, and you've been really since what, 2000, and you got your 501c3 in 2004, I think. I did a little digging, and you actually had your roots back with New College at one point, where your organizations, that's how it was all kind of started. It was an educational organization, and then you guys kind of came in and made it amazing. So I love the fact that you always keep saying singer-songwriters and stuff as if it's other people, and I'm going to call you out because that's actually what you are as well.
That is true. Or I was. I don't really do it anymore.
But no, come on.
Life becomes very busy. And I did a lot of that. I released 7 records, I believe, altogether. I played many festivals and toured the country and did all that stuff. But I also opened 4 restaurants in Brooklyn with my husband. And we were very, very busy. And every time I went to a festival, I was always, I was so guilt driven because I'd leave him alone and to run the restaurant. And I'd come back and I was like, oh my God,
Well, you'd be exhausted when you get back. So that's always a good thing too. So what brought you guys down to Sarasota? What made our cultural coast become your home?
Yeah. So, I grew up in Miami, and then, I went to New York, and I studied at NYU. And made my home in New York, met my husband 31 years ago. We were 12.
You must have been. Seriously,
thanks. And, made our lives there. Like I said, we, eventually opened 4 restaurants. We started 25 years ago with the first one, and eventually opened 4. And honestly, hugely successful places. We serve Thai food. I'm, a Cuban from Miami. My husband's a Brooklyn Jew, so Thai food.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Makes perfect sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, of course. So we did that, but in all honesty, COVID, that little thing called COVID, destroyed our businesses. There was a recovery after that. There really wasn't a recovery. Things started coming back slowly, but it was draining, physically and mentally for us.
And financially.
And financially, yes. Yeah, absolutely. After having these hugely successful places, then all of a sudden it was just a day-to-day struggle. So we made the decision of, what? We're going to change our lives. We're going to do something completely different. And, at that point we had, a high school junior. Our son was a high school junior and our daughter was leaving elementary school. So, it was a big change, a big decision, especially for, we thought all the time about our son because it's like pulling him out of his high school experience in the middle of it, so we wanted to make sure he was okay with that. So he came down here first with my husband and they toured Sarasota and they toured the schools. And, it's like, you have to be okay with this. If you're okay with this, then we'll do it. And he was very excited.
So why the Cultural Coast though? Why here instead of anywhere else in the world
Well,
you could have moved to?
we love beach. We love the beach, right? So, we were pretty familiar with the west coast of Florida. We've come down here several times. We had never come to Sarasota, but we've come to the west coast, and we love the west coast beach. I'm not a big fan of the East Coast beach, even though that's where I grew up. But it's the Atlantic, and it's kind of wild.
It's different. Yeah. It's a different kind of beach. Absolutely.
20 years ago, I'd be into the waves, and now I'm like, no waves.
You might hurt your back.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's why we picked the West Coast, and then Sarasota came on our radar because of a friend of mine who I grew up with on the East Coast, and she was like, because we were talking, we're not sure where we want to go, and she was like, you guys have to go to Sarasota. I know you guys, and I know this is what you'll love. So that's what we did. My husband Andrew and came down with our son Axel, and they toured Sarasota. And they both loved it. And then I came down a couple weeks later, and with my husband did the same thing. And we fell in love with it. This is a beautiful town with great people. There's a lot of things going on, but there are some great people here. Really, and you feel that warmth.
Yeah,
and we love the heat.
And yeah, I mean, because it's warm right now. That is for sure. Welcome to it. Where did your love of music come from? Is that part of your family in Miami, or
it is? Like, we grew up, with a musical family. We're Cuban. There was always music going on in my house. My mom loves to sing. My father used to love playing, little, congas, and so we grew up with music in our lives. And as we honestly, every weekend there was, either a party at my house or a party at our neighbor's house,
right,
where it was always a jam. It was always a jam. Like the music, everyone would come with their instruments, and they jam, and then people would sing, and they'd have a good time. So that's what I grew up surrounded with. So my love of music, I think it's like an 8.
We did the same thing, but it was square dances.
Yeah, there we go.
So it's the same thing, but my dad called square dances. So did you ever have an official training in music, or are you a self-taught? Are you a self-taught musician?
So I went to NYU. I studied audio engineering, but I also had a music minor there. So I had a lot of classical training there. And then I learned to play guitar. I was taught. So I had several teachers over the years. I always feel like I came to it a little late, like the extra. When I was younger, probably like at 12 or 13, I started my first, instructions of guitar. But then I let it go for a few years, and then by the time I got into college, I started again. So that's when I started to pick up the guitar. That's why I always think that I suck.
But you know what? You're going to be harder on yourself than anyone else because you know what you're capable of. So musician-wise, so you play guitar?
Yeah.
And?
No, that's it. I just play guitar and I'm a singer.
So but you had a band too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the name of your band? Because I didn't write it down and I should have.
Oh, okay, so it was called, for many years, it was called Ariel Aparicio and the Hired Guns.
And the Hired Guns.
Yeah. Literally, they were hired guns, so that was a little cheeky.
Okay, awesome. So is there going to be any resurfacing of some hired guns now that you're living here?
Not anytime soon.
Okay, okay. No pressure. Gosh,
okay, good.
Calm down, relax. I'm not going to put you on stage right now. So you mentioned being taught. Is there anybody that you kind of think of as, well, because of them, music makes sense to me, or my world, or I realize that I could make a living or at least express myself with music better? Was there somebody maybe in your past that kind of helped with that maybe?
I mean, my first guitar teacher, and I can't remember his name, was a super cool guy. He was like, like super chill. He taught me like shortcuts. He taught me, because all I wanted to do really was be able to write my own songs. So, he just taught me, bar chords and said, this is the way that you can just, teach yourself and then accompany yourself, and then, you can develop your instrument, as you get further along. But yeah, I thought he was an eye opener for me. He made it easier to learn. And then, I mean, literally after my first 2 lessons, I went home. I learned 2 chords. I went home and I wrote a song on those 2 chords. So I was very happy.
Wow. I love that. And we don't know his name, but we're going to put good energy out there to whoever that cool guy was.
Yeah, I
and
wish
who
I
knows?
remember.
He could be living like next door. See, that's what's going to happen. We're gonna air this, and he's gonna call you and be like, "Dude, I'm right. I live on 41, right?" But wouldn't that be? It's a small world.
It is a small world. Yeah, it is.
And so I do have a small world surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Because when I was digging, I saw that you made a comment about a certain business in New York City that I'll show the listeners who are watching.
Okay.
CBGB's.
Of course.
You played.
I did.
New York City.
Yeah. I played there several times, but I was always, I am honored that I was played there the last week before it closed. So certain local musicians, were invited. So the very last night was, I think, Patty, and I forgot who else was there, but I played the night before.
Wow.
So the night before we closed. So
I lived in New York for a couple of years, and we went a couple of times. So who knows whether I could have seen you or not. And anyway, so that picture is me not at CBGB's, but do you know where this is? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
So
I know.
This is in the basement of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I actually stopped and took a picture. I went there with my sisters and my sister-in-law, Kat and Susie and Debbie, and I took a picture of me with CBGB. So that's our small. That's your surprise.
Okay, good. So it was good. I was nervous about it, but it's all good.
I know you were very nervous. I told you it was good. I told you it was going to be good. So, is there any time in your life that you thought, "Wow, I'm going to run a radio station"? Did that ever occur to you? I mean, did you ever think that you would be where you are right now?
No. It was never something that I thought of. But however, when I got here and I didn't work for a while, and then I started looking for a position, the first thing that I applied for here at WSLR was the radio, the program or director position, which I had no experience on whatsoever, but I was like, hey, maybe I can learn. But our awesome program director, Leon Kerber, got that position, which is well-deserved, and he's doing a fantastic job. But then Arlene called me back about maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, because the director position at Fogartyville opened up. And honestly, when she told me about that, I mean, it's a perfect fit for me. I have the hospitality background for 25 years, being in front of a house, and 4 restaurants, moving back and forth between all three and then 4, and then musical background. So I was like, this is awesome. I get to meet all these artists. I get to book all these artists. I get to be in front of the house, which I love because I love being around people and having a good time. So, it fell into my lap, and I thought it was perfect.
I love it.
I didn't think about it before, but
yeah, it's interesting when people ask me, because I ran the community theater here in town for about 15 years. When people ask me, what do I miss? It is being in the front of house, which was not really my job, but I used to help get the audiences in, and I miss my patrons. I miss my wonderful folks. I miss someone always saying, that last show, Jeffrey, that was my favorite show. And it could have been not a good show, but still someone loved it. But that's what I miss. It's so as stressful as being a front of house person is, it's really kind of rewarding, and you meet amazing people.
It is. It's wonderful. This is like, so, I did the same with my restaurants. Like, we became, really close with our customers. We had customers who came to buy us 3 and 4 times a week. So they became friends, people that we really, really enjoyed being with, enjoyed seeing. I have the same thing now here at Fogartyville. I see our return customers who, they all know me by name. I know them by name. They put a big smile on my face when I see them, and I hope I put a big smile on their face when they see me. And it's all hugs and hellos, and I'm a very huggy person. So
I'm a huggy person too. Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. I love that. I love that aspect of it.
And that was really hard for us during COVID, wasn't it?
Right.
You know,
Which it was. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, it was.
theater people, and that was a really tough time for us because we were so used to being right in each other's faces all the time. It taught us some pretty interesting lessons. So being in the New York restaurant scene has to have a level of stress that maybe I even haven't dealt with before. How did you handle stress then, and how do you handle the stress of doing what you do now? How do you find your balance?
So, you know, it all goes in stages. So like for, like I said, we had 4 restaurants from 25 years ago till now going on 3 or 4 years. When things are great, things are great, so so like stress, yes, because there's so much to do and you're always there. But when it's super successful and everything's great, I think just the excitement of it. And it was exciting. It was very exciting. We had great, fun restaurants like Fogartyville, high energy, packed, jammed, great music playing all the time. So it was really, really fun. But then, as years went by and it got, it gets stressful because they're not as busy, and you're always trying to figure out new ways of reaching other customers. So I dealt with it with my music. I think that was a big stress reliever for me, is being able to do that, being able to put on my second hat and go, in the rehearsal space and play with my musician friends and my band for 4 hours. That was a huge stress relief for me. So that helped me for many, many years. So, and today, I'm very active. I run 10 miles a day. If I didn't have that, my running is very cathartic. So that helps me, relieve all stress. Like my kids know if I didn't run that day. When they get home, they know if I wasn't able to run.
So do you literally get up in the morning? Are you a morning runner? Do you run in the morning?
So now it all depends on my schedule. Right. So I used to be able to run in the morning. Now it's a little difficult. So my work schedule is either I'm there during the day doing booking and taking care of things, and or I'm in the evening. So if I have an event in the evening, then yes, I'll run during the day after I get my kids to school or camp or whatever. But otherwise, I'll run in the evening. So I'll run at 4:00 in the afternoon today, and everyone thinks I'm insane because it's 95 degrees.
Yes, but you know what? Talk about great getting rid of all your endorphins, getting the endorphins in and all the toxins out. I mean, this is the place to come. A lot of people come to our region in the summer because the restaurants aren't as full, the parking lots aren't as full. So it's surprising. I moved here in 91. And I got to tell you, I was surprised, even as the years have gone by, that I've noticed more and more people coming during the summertime to enjoy what we have and what we do. So we have our season, of course, but then there's do you guys have a cyclical season at WSLR in Fogartyville?
So we do, but I think our season is more expanded than like the normal Sarasota. Like we go into May and June, but we also have events all year round. So even though the summer is quieter for us, like we still have 4 and 5 concerts during the month. We still have workshops. We still have nonprofit events for other local nonprofits, or rental events. So we still do things. Right now, we have an awesome film camp that runs for 4 weeks during the day for
like a kid's summer camp.
Summer camp.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we're doing our own radio camp starting in July, and that's sponsored by us, and we're doing the same thing, and it's super awesome. So anyone out there with young kids, we're doing forgot exactly, I think 12 to 17. I could be wrong, but it's like it's not for for like 5-year-olds, but you learn to do radio programming, and at the end of your week, you are going to go live on the radio, and it's super awesome. My daughter did it for one day that we were doing a radio camp, and she loved it. She came with her friend, and they did a little rap programming at the end, and they just loved it. So the kids are going to love it. So if you guys, anyone out there who's interested, give us a call or go to WSLR.org and sign up.
Yeah, WSLR.org. So that's going to get you information for both Fogartyville and WSLR. Yes. Okay, yeah. That's super important for our listeners. Yeah. A lot of our listeners are from out of town, and then a lot of our listeners are here. When you have events there, are they always usually what you have to buy a ticket for them in advance, or are a lot of these you kind of just show up, or how does that work?
So when we're doing concerts, you need to buy your ticket beforehand. Usually, well, I mean, it depends. I mean, we will have tickets available at the door if they're available. But like I said before, we have, touring musicians from all over the country who are coming to our space. And most of our shows do sell out, and some of them sell out super quickly. So yes, I advise you guys to, and always, you can also go to Fogartyville.org, which is a separate tab. And there you'll see all the concert listings and any other special events that we have there. So all the concert listings, you can go directly on the website, go on the link, and you can buy your tickets directly there.
That's incredible what you guys do, and I love the education aspect because, and also, there's a lot of us that are, even at a certain age, you want to, I should have done that, or I should have tried that, and so people, education is important for every organization of all ages, but there is something special about the littles. And that's something that's one of our future goals is to expand the whole, education like capacity within our, both WSLR and Fogartyville. We want to reach out to more young people. We want more young people on the radio, which we have, a couple happening now. We want Becca and Cece plug on Saturdays, but we want more of that. And we want people. Young people to barely even know what radio is anymore, but we want them to be in touch and to come and experience what it's like. And it's, it's really fun and it's really cool. Well, you're amazing. And for what you do and for joining our community, thank you for joining us. You and your family are obviously welcome and doing great things. I can't believe you run 10 miles. I'm so ashamed of you, but that's okay. I feel like I should have worked out this morning and I didn't. So I feel a little bad about that. Thank you so much for what you do and how you do it and the energy that you bring. So I try to ask, all the great questions. I'm sure, were you thinking, gosh, he's going to ask me this, and this is going to be my answer? Did I forget anything awesome that you want to?
I have my little cheat sheet here.
Yeah, I have mine too. Mm-hmm.
No, just to make sure. And I think we, covered most of the things. Maybe the one thing that we didn't mention is just, and we kind of spoke about it, but just, I feel like I brought some new, not just energy, but new things to Fogartyville. Like, we added these awesome weather screens, shades for the back so that we can use our patio more. I put these cool chandeliers in, and I put some tablecloths and added some some candles just to bring up the ambiance a little more. We still have that rootsy feel, but I wanted to just elevate it a little more. I plan to do a little more of that. And for the future, like I said, I want to, book as many shows as we did this year, maybe a little more, but we're also focusing on the rental aspect of Fogartyville, because it is, it's also available for rental. So we do support a lot of our local nonprofits. It's very affordable, but we also want to expand that to, put on parties if somebody wants to rent the space. We did a spring gala the other day, and not the other day, well, like a couple months ago, where we redid the whole place. So that place, so Fogartyville could be, a place, for your next wedding. It becomes that kind of, and it's unique because no one has a stage like us. So if you want to have a band at any kind of event, we're the place. No one has that. So, in Sarasota. So yeah, that's my plug.
No, it was great. It was so nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and your treasure and your talent for sharing that with us. And I am going to say so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and good night. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Jeffery Kin as a part of Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. We love listening to our arts practitioners, and we want you to listen as well. So make sure you join us at sarasotapodcast.com, and we'll see you at the next interview.